Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Innervated podcast, the show of Ghost Gamers all about Hearthstone. This is episode 48 recording. Not on our usual day, it's Thursday, it's June the 9th. We're going to have a big and long show for you tonight to help me, make an awesome, about 7-hour episode. I have invited. It's between 7 and 8 hours. This is the plan. So I hope you didn't make any plans. We're going to talk about a lot about death and storylines. But anyways, I've invited, as usual, my wonderful two co-hosts, Raven. No, you're not my usual co-host. Damn it! It's Shiv.
Sneaking in there.
It's almost there. Almost there. It's Shiv and Sumarin and special guest Raven. How are you guys feeling tonight?
Nigel, you can admit it. You said my name because you were just staring at me in the webcam. Let's be honest.
I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like Shevik right now, and I just got shit on.
I have like a huge nude poster of you, Raven. Like just so I.
Understandable.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Well, exactly. Exactly. People with no taste. That's why.
Yeah.
Straight white men, obviously.
Basically, I want to fund Raven's nude calendar for 2017. It has to happen. Blizzard, please. Blizzard, please. We need this.
No, we don't.
So there's the guy with no taste. We were looking for him all along.
No homo. Sorry, not gonna happen.
No homo. No homo. Rave is bae. That's it.
Rave is
Ray is bae.
Yeah. There might be some bias since that's a torpedo guy there, so maybe some slight bias, but hey ho, I'll take it.
Let's get started with the show.
How phallic of a team name.
Wow. Hey, actually, I asked you how you are, and you never told me how you are. So how are you guys?
Actually, I'm doing pretty good. I had a chance to play with some European Hearthstone players over on Overwatch on European server, and realized that European players are just as horrible as fucking NA players. It's great.
But that's in Overwatch, right? Because in Hearthstone they're way better.
Pretty much.
And
yeah.
Shiv, you've not played with me yet. Where I basically
I'd rather play with
one
Soto,
goal,
considering I've seen him play better.
My one goal in Overwatch is to just preach the offensive bastion and how good it is.
Oh, you're one of those guys that nobody likes.
Oh, you're the guy that literally creates this animosity in a team that everybody just leaves mid.
Yeah, I love it. No,
they don't want to deal with you.
This happened the other day. So I was like, oh my god, you fucking idiot. Offensive bastion, blah, blah. You know, like a bastion on a attack. I was like, yeah. And then, like, honestly, 2 minutes later, I'd cleared the first point by myself. And then we caught it. And then at the end of the game, play the game, gold medals and kills. I was like, yeah, offensive bastion, shit. Like, oh wait,
he can be good.
And then there was just silence.
Not really.
Right.
It all depends on the map. Like if you're talking about offensive bastion on Hanamura, I'm going to tell you you're on crack.
I've had this. And I got
offensive bastion on every map.
No.
Every map. No. Okay, I'll prove it. I'll start recording my gameplay and prove it.
This is like Falcon Punch going, Zenyatta and then trying to frontline with it. It just doesn't work.
Just wait. You've not seen me do it, mate. Just wait.
Stefan, have you been playing Overwatch? Probably not.
No, I've never been a shooter guy, and there's just too much else going on right now. Like I have been playing a Hearthstone, I have been playing Heroes, and no, I'm not on the Overwatch hype. I'm not really been for shooting.
People still play Heroes?
I know, right?
No, you mean Heroes of Might and Magic 3, right? Because that's the only Heroes that a game that goes by this name.
Closest I know is Heroes of My Storm, which is a poster up in one of the Hollywood movie theater in Overwatch.
Really?
No.
Oh,
there's a ton of Easter eggs.
Yeah. But anyways, let's get into the show and some news first. Starladder completed its second group stage for the World Division, and we know the 4 players that will go to represent Europe in the LAN finals. It's Dr. Hippie, Job, Zizo, and Hoy that are guaranteed spots there. Every other person who lost in the second group stage will play in the last chance bracket, and I think it's 2 more spots overall. So it's 6 European players and 2 Chinese players overall in the finals, just like last year.
Well, so, 6 world players.
Right. Sorry. Yeah. Just
because they're not all European. That's like the people in the tournament weren't European. But carry on, Nid. I'll correct you on your
Right, but
knowledge,
there's jab. It's jab. The jab's there, so it's not all European. So yeah, my mistake. It's not, on purpose this on the NA or Korean players or anything. Just slip of the tongue. Product of my natural bias. But overall, great results for Navi. I think that they had like an all Navi group on the second day of the second group stage with Ziza Hoy, Surrender, and Skaka. Yeah. Jab, with a strong statement in the tournament, and this is something I think he quite needs now that his team is no more, which is something we're going to comment later on in the show.
Although, sorry, Jab along with everyone in that first group, because I ended up casting that sort of last minute, right? And like me and Firebat were casting, and by the end of the tournament, we were just like, what's going on? There were approximately 5 to 6 missed lethals.
This was the Chronic group, right?
And these lethals were not like, oh, these guys shouldn't miss lethals, but fuck me, these were... No, they were like, you can aim at face? There's no... you can do that and just kill your opponent instead. Kranich missed lethal twice in a row, and it was just blatant lethal, but he still won. And that druid deck of Kranich's, the raw ramp druid, like, not dropped a game since he played in Star Ladder.
It's
not dropped one match.
9-0, something about 10-0. Yep. It's ridiculous.
Yep. Not dropped a single game. Madness. Me and Firebat were like, what's going on? He missed lethal twice and still won. It's just madness. But yeah, it was a crazy group. Jab missed Whirlwind Grom lethal as well.
Oh yeah.
But Jab did take Tempo Mage, and he actually put in some fucking work. He destroyed Tyce's Freeze Mage with it. He won in like 4 turns.
He's playing something similar to Lovely Chug's China Shaman, right? Like the one that won...
I don't know. I did... So when we were... The games I casted, I've not seen them all, of course, but the games I casted, we didn't see Ice Block or anything.
Yeah, so I thought there was Ice Block, but it might have been just a figment of my imagination.
Yeah, from what I saw, it was like, if I asked you to build Tempo Mage, it was pretty much that list. You know what I mean? Like, pretty straightforward. But interesting, that's all.
Right. And Dr. Hippie, again, now on Virtus Pro, fishing for results. He is the reigning runner-up of the European Championship. So once again proving, well, yeah, this was not, a one-off thing. Like, I'm really, really impressed with the Romanian kid. He's crushing face, man. I'm curious to see where he goes there, because, Virtus Pro might just be the team to look for the rest of the year. Because we've always been hyping, like, since 2016 has started, we were looking at SK Gimmick and Complexity, right? Like, these are the teams that will grow to such an extent that they will be the, crushing everybody. Not talking about, let's say, Cloud9 or G2 or Navi, like the usual suspects, right? But, Virtus Pro with the Nyman and the Dr. Hippie pickups, I mean, just amazing.
They were some of the strongest European competitive players out there, and they were really proving it. I mean, you talk about Dr. Hippie. You ask a lot of the European players about Dr. Hippie. It's like, oh, he was one of the best Freeze Mage players in this meta, and that's all they could talk about. It was like, when it came to Freeze Mage, nobody knew it better than him. And here we are, a whole new meta, whole new things. Everything is still in a state of flux, and he's proven himself. Like, look, I'm better than just Freeze Mage, guys. So
yeah, and also though as well, like, he put Corrupted Kobold or whatever the fuck it's called in his Freeze Mage, and it won him a game.
Oh my god, yeah.
Perfect lethal because he had the additional 2 spell power. But the thing about Dr. Hippie is, like, he's like one of the most solid players I've ever seen in terms of his decision making. And just to don't even take my word for it, like, I was talking to Fireback because we cast Dr. Hippie was in that group. We were casting the matches, and in the breaks, Fireback was like, yeah, Dr. Hippie's really strange person to cast, because you can't really say, oh, there were these other plays, because it's like, no, the best play was the one he did every single turn, and that's actually hard to do. Like, that's actually stupid. And like, when someone like Firebat says that, like I said, don't take my bloody word for it, but when Firebat says that about someone's play, you know they're pretty good. Like, he wouldn't really mix
I was expecting that you were going to say, oh, he's hard to cast because you think something and then he does completely different. And I was going to make the example of Mr. Yagud when he was playing the 2014 European Championships, and I remember clear every single one of his games. Like, the caster was like, oh, so the play is here and this and that. Right. And then Mr. Yagud does completely different. Everybody's like silent for 15 seconds, like, oh yeah, and right, this makes fucking sense.
But no, if you just watch him play, like, it's so solid. There's like not even a hiccup in any turn. It's actually quite scary, because you just know unless he gets screwed on draw, then like, or his opponent draws exceptionally well, like he's gonna make the correct play every single turn, and you've just got to try and fucking beat it, and that is hard. Like that's as hard as it's really gonna get. Let's be honest.
Yeah, great player, man. Like one of the players to watch, definitely 2016. Like if he wins, you know, a couple of more tournaments, which I do not doubt he will, or at least finish high. I mean, that's a breakout nomination for Ghost Awards right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Raven, this is kind of like a sting probably because you weren't ever nominated for a Ghost Awards, were you?
No, he's not even gonna respond. He's not. He's like, I'm done. Nope.
He's dying.
We've had the discussion, Andrew.
I told you, like, you made me a promise earlier today, and if you go with it, if you follow up, you will be forever my favorite Hearthstone caster ever,
Okay.
like for life. Yeah,
Okay, we'll see.
Like it's like Subtle can have sex with another Subtle and they have a baby, and he or she grows to be a caster. He or she will still be worse than you. I promise you.
Perfect. That'll do.
Oh, I'm not doing this shit.
Anyways, second news of the week: Chucky left Dignitas just last night, actually. And now he will be looking for a new team. There's no drama there. He was not fired. He left on his own accord. The contract, his contract ended. He decided not to resign. He will leave. I mean, he will still be in competitive Hearthstone, compete and whatnot. So yeah, because I saw some people on Reddit looking for drama. Oh, maybe it's his bad manner attitude where he was let go. No, it's nothing like this.
Chucky hasn't been like that for a long time.
Oh yeah, for a long time.
Chucky has not been like that.
It's been like at least 6 months since he's flicked off the camera from
like,
a loss.
The bad manner Chucky, like almost completely died after ESGN Fight Night, where he would just BM people and like do the force and emotes and whatnot. Like he's been a cool guy for a long time, especially when he was getting casting jobs, because you cannot be an asshole and get those jobs.
I think in terms of him not renewing his contract, I think it's like almost a genius idea.
Oh yeah.
Because basically, like, you don't want to end a contract where you feel you're forced to re-sign because you've not got results, right? Because you just don't as a player. Yeah. He's not renewed his contract when he's at a point in his career that he's absolutely on fire, and every team will probably want him, which means he is going to get a very, very nice offer because he has the benefit of being, like I said, on fire at the moment. And he's always been good, right? You know, that's not even a question. But he's been performing recently very well. And the fact that he is a personality, right? He doesn't really stream, but, you know, he's very active on Twitter, for example. And he's someone everyone knows, everyone jokes with. He's good on camera in terms of when he's done bits of casting, and even his interviews are really good. He's very interesting. Whether you like him or not doesn't matter because they're just facts. So he's a great pickup, and not to renew his contract, like, because in Hearthstone, as we all know, like, whose team you're on doesn't really matter 9 times out of 10, right? Because it just doesn't. You practice with whoever the fuck you want. So that just doesn't. All it matters is what deal you're getting, and that sounds pretty bad, but that's just the way it is on most teams. If you're on a team with teammates that you practice with and you get along with, fantastic. Most people couldn't give a shit. So like he can practice with the same people he's always practiced with. That makes no difference, right? So yeah, he's just going to get some really, really good offers, no doubt. And I'm kind of happy for him as well because recently he's been performing really well. And like I said, he's been doing well on camera, which is a good thing, right? He's not being an arsehole, which is always a bonus.
I mean,
Go. Well, there's another thing here that's going to make him really appealing to almost any team that gets him. If you look at all the tournaments that he's been in, he is getting more face time than any other player. I actually went back and checked this out, and he is actually getting more face time than any other player. Every match he plays has either been showcased on there, or they've had to cut to it in some way or another. In like the past year, he's gotten more time and exposure than any other player. So that's good for any organization.
Let me throw out a question then. Which team do you think is good for him, Stefan?
I don't know, like which. I mean, he definitely performs. I don't know, like I haven't been following Shaggy much. Like it depends on who really has the money and interest. So no, I don't really.
Yeah, because like people were like, oh, maybe he will go to like some of the top teams, right? Like the very, very top teams. But then if you think of it like G2 I don't think Lauder wants any more people in G2.
No,
Nope.
they haven't. When did they last sign anyone out? I don't.
And
don't need to.
They haven't.
G2 generally doesn't even talk to NA players anyway,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have
so-
like you know, some strictly European organizations like Navi, so he'll probably not be there as well. And then you start thinking like, okay, who's left? You know, Archon is moving out, so not Archon then. You know, Tempo Storm.
Probably.
Yeah, but they haven't really been signing big players, right? Although
No,
Reyna definitely
not
has the
really.
money, but like it might be a good fit for Tempo if Reyna decides to go like, okay, you know, time to sign a big star. And you know, Chucky is articulate enough and smart enough, and you know, knowledgeable enough to put him on content producing duties as well. You know.
Yeah, but I don't think Chucky would do any of that. Though.
Yeah. Again,
no,
so
he won't.
Like, I mean, just yesterday, I mean, you were on that show, but Reynard was basically talking about Tempo Storm, and in terms of playing isn't good enough as a player. You can't just play the game. And Chucky is the type of person, in my opinion, I don't know Chucky super well. This is just what I've gleaned from things he's said and interviews and such. But like, this type of person will be like, yeah, I'm going to practice and play, or I'm not going to practice. Or I'm going to do this, or I might stream a random day, or I won't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he really needs to or wants to even commit to anything as structured as you need to stream 100 hours a
well, this could
whatever,
be
but
problematic for the future, and it's something we're going to talk about because you know,
I
you're a
have a different
manager,
take
and you
on
know
this,
that you need reliable people who do what you tell them and tell them to do, right? Like, if you want them to produce content, they have to produce content. It depends what kind of business you're running, like, as a team, right? Because like, let's say your team relies on YouTube content to survive because you have some like a big audience or whatever, and you want to put your players to produce YouTube content, then they tell you, well, fuck you, I'm just gonna sit down and play. They're kind of like not a real asset to the team, right?
Well, that's also implying that Jackie doesn't understand how this business works. He's been in it since the beginning. He has a pretty good understanding of this. And one of the things I want you guys to think about is the environment in which he's going to be entering in. All right, I've talked to a lot of players as they've become free agents, you know, like Firebat and things of that nature. And when you talk to them and you ask them, you know, what exactly are you looking for in a team? They'll tell you a lot of things. One of the ones that comes out almost consistently is, well, I want something that's going to promote me and grow me. I want to be in a group where there are players that support what I'm doing and helping me grow and grow my brand so that I can, at the end of the day, get more numbers on streams, get more recognition, get invites to all these cool events, and thus make more money. All right, they're not foolish. They understand where it is. Now, Chaki's got a lot of really cool playtest partners throughout all of like the different aspects of Hearthstone. So probably what you're going to see there is him going to one of those groups that has the most of his playtest partners, because
Admirable and Chucky to confirm to create a super team.
That would
NA
be the
super team. Confirmed.
That would be the NA super team, and I know Admirable and I know Chacky, and I've talked to him about it. It's like, dude, this would be the most amazing thing ever. You guys would be like the powerhouse, and you know who could really compete with you in NA? You would very much dominate NA. Yeah, you know, get Jab in there. I mean, there's a lot of other people that I would definitely throw into that mix as well. But again, you also got to realize one other thing. Hearthstone financially for any organization is not that stable.
No.
Being honest here, it is not. Sponsors look at Hearthstone and go, why am I paying for competitive players when there's streamers all over the place? And streamers get the numbers. So it's a rough go at business-wise. So compromises will probably have to be done. There's going to have to be other aspects that are going to be taken into consideration. Obviously, content, YouTube videos, articles, things of that nature are probably going to be a requirement. But we'll have to wait and see on this, where he goes.
Yeah. I don't want to continue this topic much longer because we are going to discuss at length in the second part of the episode. So, but for now, let's get into our main topic number one, and it's about the HCT EU Championship, which is coming on stream this weekend, starting on Saturday. I think it's at 6 p.m. European time or something like this. It's in the early evening. We'll have the 4 quarterfinals played on Saturday, 3 more matches then following on Sunday, and there we'll crown the champion. This champion will go on to join you know, the other 4 people who already qualified at BlizzCon. So we'll have Nyman, Amnesiac, who did come from APAC. I'm drawing a blank.
And you covered it so extensively too.
Yeah, right. Anyways, but what I want to talk about is like all deck lists were published today on the Blizzard website. There are a lot of interesting choices. I want to go, you know, through the, you know, how each class is represented, and talk about some of the more interesting techs, and decisions that the players have made. So, first of all, let's just go alphabetically with the classes and see which one was brought how many times in how many lineups. So we start with Druid. Only one Druid out of 8 lineups, and it's AK Wonder's Cthulhu Druid.
Then and that guy is a Cthulhu maniac.
Yeah. We expected this. It's
Cthulhu decks.
Yeah, he's playing to his strength. I can't argue this, though. In general, Cthulhu Druid in like competitive format, because we've seen it fail repeatedly over the past few tournaments that have been popping up. It just did not perform well at all.
Yeah, I think that could change though.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
Cthulhu Druid is actually blowing up on ladder at the moment. Mainly in NA, but it will cross over pretty quick, I think. And the deck's actually super strong. So I think, even though I believe AK Wonders took the deck because he likes it, I think it might actually work out a little bit better than he planned. Because I think in this current meta, it's actually really good.
I mean, I'm not sure better than planned if it's the right phrase, because it won him the preliminaries, right? Like,
I think so. He took them to preliminaries, and I think he took them because he thought they were good, right? So obviously, you wouldn't take a deck you think was bad, but I think he took them as well because he likes them, right? And that's definitely a factor. And I think that he's definitely done it again. Except I think the addition of maybe the way the meta starts shifting a little bit is that like it's going to work out even better, than in prelims, because in prelims it obviously worked well. But I think in this it's going to be even better. So I'm looking to see big things from that deck actually.
All right. Next we have Hunter, 6 hunters in the 8 lineups, 4 camel hunters and 2 kind of mid-range hunters. And I want to stop here and talk about the class in particular, because we have seen the rise of Hunter gradually. Like, it was the least representing class in EU prelims. Got a bit more exposure in the NA prelims, and then so everybody was playing Hunter. Like, all of a sudden, almost overnight, it felt like I was seeing it on ladder, I was seeing it in tournaments, like in invitationals like Star Ladder. What happened to Hunter? Like, why is it so good all of a sudden?
Because people realize Call of the Wild is broken as fuck.
No, but like, everybody knew Call of the Wild was broken as fuck. Everybody's concern was like, oh, can I survive until Call of the Wild?
I think, like, if you look at the cards that they're bringing Fiery Bat and they're bringing Huge Toad. And I know a few things about these cards. They trade against trucks. They can, like, Fiery Bat can trade with a truck as a 1-drop, and that is massively valuable, because as soon as you manage to eliminate that goddamn truck, Shaman is back to square one, where they're like, oh my god, this is Shaman card. What the heck am I doing?
And the Toad trades up with the Totem.
Yeah, with Totem Golem, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it can.
It can, but that's good enough, surprisingly. Because if it works, Shaman just, it's like, oh shit, I have no mana next turn. All of my cards sucks. Why this hasn't worked for 2 years? Why should it do now? So if you can eliminate those cards, I think that's why Hunter is bringing now.
Yeah, and I also think, going off on the back of that, the game at the moment is like in a weird place, in my opinion. I don't even know if I like it that way, but basically it's almost like whichever player blinks first, and by blink I mean doesn't quite get the best turn possible, just loses, right? And this can happen in the first 2 turns or 3 turns, right? And because of trades like, okay, Flame Juggler, easy answer, right? There's a 1/1 on the board, you play Flame Juggler on 2, you hit, you potentially win the game off the back of that 1 hit. Yep. You miss, you potentially lose the game off the back of that. And when you multiply that with Fiery Bats, Toads as well, and then you go on top of things like you play Grub on turn 3. If they don't answer it, you play Houndmaster. You've done the best turn. You put a 4/3 and a 4/7 like on the board, and the 4/7's at half got charge. It's like +2/+2 charge, right? So like every single turn, like Hunter's always been played in mid range, where you basically need to slam shit every single turn, and then you win. That's basically Hunter, right? And has been for a very long time. And the addition of these extra little things of like the +1 damages from Toad and Bat, the fact that Freezing Trap, even though it has to be played, then just completely destroys your opponent's turn to a certain extent.
The 100 card I hate the most.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Oh my god. And Shamans definitely hate it, because if you can clear everything but that stupid 7/7 and you got the Freezing Trap down, they know
you'll never play it again.
That locks down that 7/7 until they can get rid of the trap, and that is a great little thing because you can build strategies around that and just totally defeat Shaman.
And as well, all cards like that do is compound the issue of if someone has to, even say you can play around it, right? You've got 2 minions, one slightly worse than the other, a 3-drop and a 2-drop. You run the 2-drop in. Suddenly, your turn 2 when you played the 2-drop isn't quite as good anymore, even though it's sort of in the past, right? Because you've lost that bit of board presence. And then their turn is very good, the next turn. So then, again, it just stacks on. And the second one player slips up, the game's just over. You see that in things with Warrior versus Shaman, yeah? They play Totem Golem. If you have Axe and Blood to Ichor, you probably just win. And that's just the way it is. And Hunter does a very good job of that. And the fact that it can just fucking go late game. It has the... You're on the clock against Hunter from turn 1 purely because of the hero power in most matchups. And also, you can just slam Call of the Wild, right? So I think just all those things combined, especially with Deadly Shot as well, being like, oh, you're playing a big guy, because there are a lot of control-heavy decks knocking around at the moment. You play a big guy, 3 mana, it's dead. Whatever.
I mean, it's a really scary scenario that players now have to. The players have to actually look at Hunter on as they're approaching turn 8. It's like, okay, if I don't clear all the minions on turn 8, Call of the Wild is just going to wreck me. Like, Call of the Wild has literally become the savage roar that Hunters wanted.
And also look at the way the curve goes, right? So Grub, something regardless of what's going on, you have to deal with, because if you play Houndmaster, you're fucked.
5 health is too much to deal with it oftentimes.
Yeah, but they overcommit, right? They don't play efficiently to deal with it, right? No one can deal with that card really that efficiently, okay?
Rogue can.
Rogue.
Yeah. I'm talking very generalizations, of course, but there are situations in which, everyone can. But, Grub's very difficult to deal with, and if they try and deal with it, it's inefficient for them. And then you carry on your turn with a good drop on turn 4. And then you go Tundra Rhino that we've seen. If you play Tundra Rhino on 5, your opponent has to do something about it, or they will also get fucked the turn after. And then if they deal with it, it's inefficient. Maybe not inefficient, but they have to deal with it. Then you slam High Main, for example, and then again, turn 7, you set up a board turn 7, they have to wipe it, or you're going to play Call of the Wild. So you just create repetitive turns of problems for your opponent. And then also, as just an extra side point, the tournament format is best of 7, so they are submitting 5 decks, which then opens up the possibility of bringing other classes, because you need to submit 5, right? So that's also a factor into bringing Hunter, because it's a very good deck, and even if you don't think it's great, you've got to pick 5 out of the 9 classes, right? You know what I mean, Lo? It opens up the space.
I was super skeptical towards Hunter because I've never played Hunter as much in Hearthstone, and then I got 3 quests, for Hunters. I'm just gonna build some mid-range Hunter and play it, and then I fell in love with it because I played some super attack control version with Doomsayers and freezing traps, no Firebat initially. It was Jesus Christ, every
that's
turn.
The Agate list. I played that for a while too. It's great.
Every turn up until turn 4. I have answers to everything, Doomsayer kills Zoo and Shaman, and Deadly Shot kills Auctioneers and everything, right? Big threats. Then after I'm done with your board and made fun of you in front of your friends and family, I start slapping these threads that Raven is mentioning, and now you're checkmated, right? You have to have a ridiculous opening against me and pressure me, pop my freezing trap early, or deal with my Doomsayer to kill me, or otherwise I just stabilize, pull threads, go on the offensive, take steal tempo, and once I'm exhausted your resource, they play double Call of the Wild and you're dead. That's good. And meanwhile,
I can't tell you how many wins I've gotten off of turn 8 Call of the Wild, turn 9 Call of the Wild, and just my opponent goes, I hate you.
Yeah. Did you know what happened to me the other day? I played against the Yogg deck. So it's a lock and load Yogg Hunter, right? And he plays Yogg.
Yogg and load.
Yeah, Yogg and load. Yeah, so he plays Yogg. He casts Thistle Tea. He draws Call of the Wild. Gets 3 Calls of the Wild, and is like, oh my god. Now this is why Sorrel hates this card so much.
I don't blame him.
It was like, well, no. But anyways, staying on Hunter topic, there are 4 Camel Hunters.
That's interesting.
That's interesting compared to 2 mid-range Hunters. And what's even more interesting, I saw a Camel Hunter with just 1 Fear Bat, so no injured Cloudbears or any other 1-drops. So what the hell, guys? Like, why Desert Camel in the first place?
You're definitely not going for the Shaman matchup at that point. Like,
No.
it's Rogue and it's to some extent
Warrior.
the Rhinolocks and Warriors. Yes, Warriors don't have any others. Like,
Well, unless they're doing that piratey Nazoth's first mate thing, but
Nidra.
Yeah.
Who's bringing a Camel Hunter with only one drop? So I can't find anyone. So Turner's got 2, Tice has got 3, Lion's got 2.
No, I mean like one.
they have one kind of
one drop.
Oh, I thought you meant 1/1 drop.
No,
okay.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's either 2 or 3, right? It's either
Yeah,
you
it's
run
a
a injured Soldier if you.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry, I
you
misunderstood.
always run injured
Apologies.
Soldier.
Apologies.
Yeah.
I misunderstood. Never mind.
I'm not sure I agree with this. I mean, if you can, this is best of 7. There's no bans in this. I'm assuming. I haven't actually looked at this.
There's bans.
It's
Okay, if
best of
there's
7
bans,
yeah.
then
You just ban Shaman.
Yeah,
So
you
ban
either ban
Shaman.
If Shaman's not an option, then you ban Zoo because you don't want to basically feed Zoo.
Yeah, so basically you're just using it against the decks in the meta that doesn't run 1-drops, which there aren't that many left of. So who knows? That might bite them in the.
They don't have to worry about Northshire Cleric showing up.
What decks other than Shaman and Zoo run 1-drops, really?
I mean, Temple Warrior runs Armor Smiths. Oh no, these are 2-drops. Never mind.
Armor Smiths.
Yeah.
There's like none.
No.
No,
Yeah,
there's absolutely
there's
none.
no
There's actually
tempo
none.
deck, so it's a good.
Unless they have, Sir Finley Murgleton for some fucked up
Yeah,
reason.
in which, to be honest, you're probably happy you fucking pulled
Yeah.
it.
You
don't
are
get the
happy
power.
if you pull it, because.
But yeah, you ban Shaman or Zoo, and then you're always going to be on top with Camel. And again, it just goes back to the whole on turn 3, I'm playing 4 mana's worth of stuff. Fuck you. And then you just again, it's just another super strong turn.
Yeah, see, in tournament format, it does make sense, but in ladder, it's so.
Oh, you wouldn't run it on ladder. Well,
Never.
it depends what day you're having on ladder, right? If you've seen no one play Shaman or Zoo, sure, give it a
Yeah.
What day is that? Sign me up for that day.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
The day I only play Overwatch is the day I don't play Shaman on ladder. That's about it. But
Every day ending in Y?
one other key difference between the Shaman decks, the Hunter decks is in their kind of late game, the choice between Stranglethorn Tiger and Savannah Highmane. Now I think somebody asked like why is that on Reddit, and my answer is I'm not sure if I'm correct, but I'm going with my gut feeling of not really the best Hearthstone analyst, but a guy who's watched shitstorm, is just Savannah Highmane sucks against rogues and sucks against mid-range Shaman, right? Because like it gets sapped or it gets hexed.
It cannot get hexed. It can't, like Tiger cannot get hexed. Tiger cannot get sapped. So that's probably it.
Right. It's immune to hard removals for a turn, and then you can just, let's say, it's at least 5 damage, right? Unless like some big AoE removal happens, and if you can pair it with, let's say, Call of the Wild, it becomes 6 damage. If you can pair it with Houndmaster, it becomes 7 damage. Right. It's a threat that's there. Right?
Yeah, there's lots of things there. I mean, the only time where I say Stranglethorn Tiger is probably at a really bad advantage is in the mirror match because we've seen Deadly Shot come back.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
And Freezing Trap.
Yeah.
But then, like, again, like, just, I completely agree, of course. But also, if your opponent, if it's their opponent's turn 5 or 6, depending on when, what turn you're on, whatever, when you play Tiger, they Deadly Shot, then they're only doing like a 2-3 mana play. Then you can go into fucking Call the Wild or something, or another Tiger or another whatever.
Then you'd still want the Highmane, like Hunter. Like there's no reason Hunter cannot punish Highmane, so you always want to be the guy with 2 Highmanes in the Hunter mirror.
It can punish Highmane with.
It can it's called Freezing Trap. That punishes Highmane.
All I'm saying is, like, as well as the performance Tiger does against other classes, of course, that we mentioned, like, it can also be tricky for Hunter to deal with as well. But yeah, I agree, to a lesser extent.
All right, moving on to the mage, 3 out of 8 mages, all of them freeze. No surprise there. I think, like, people haven't really caught up to the tempo mage hype with Lavlichuk, kind of used to win the Ferrari, but Euro has always been a freeze mage region. No surprising.
Freeze Mage is like the ultimate skill test of control.
That's true.
And
that's true. Right.
Where like Tempo Mage, you're relying a lot on, does it hit correctly? Can I get the right cycling going? So I can understand why they'd be less likely to take that chance.
Plus, you can ban a control warrior.
You can ban a control warrior. But again, like who's breezing? Like with players like Crane, George C, who also played a Freeze Mage in prelims, I believe, and who is the third Freeze Mage player? So Einer.
George.
Yeah, George, Einer, and
what do you say, George?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the best thing the funniest thing though is like Crane's version is so weird.
Yeah,
just because of one card.
I am going to talk about it.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't know. It wasn't on the notes,
Nigel. It is on the notes, man. We're talking about a lot of Crane stuff. On the Hunter, he's bringing Dread Scale in Hunter. Yeah. I just want to mention it there because fun stuff.
That basically says he's not banning Zoo.
He's not banning Zoo, no banning Shaman.
I feel like someone else has submitted Crane's decks. Honestly,
I don't know.
Because Crane is someone who fucking hates tech cards. He's like the player most known for hating tech cards. He's put Mirror Image in fucking Freeze Mage.
What?
The Alchemist in fucking Zoo.
Yeah, this is
and
why,
then it's in Hunter.
This is what 92 Tom is saying in Twitch chat. Biggest news today. Crane is ranking rule number 1 in the book of Crane. Crazed Alchemist and Mirror Image, so tech cards. Let's talk about this Mirror Image because we discussed it in our Hearthstone crew chat. It was like, okay, was it? Probably. Anyways, that doesn't really matter, but it's like, okay, it makes a turn 3 Doomsayer super safe if you want to clear the ball against early aggression. It's, adds extra targets for Kodo. If you again want to save your Doomsayer, just adds more fluff power, like buffer health if you're under big pressure, and it's like so cheap. For 1 mana you essentially heal for 4, right, or something like this. So it's really cool, but Crane is sacrificing Flame Strike for this. And everybody's like, wow, I'm not sure how this will end up, right?
I think it's just a matter of this. There's just nothing in the current meta that you can wait for Flame Strike for. Like you don't, like if it's turn 7, the board should already be clear, or whatever you should play should just stop your opponent rather than
and you can ban
simply killing
Shaman,
it.
so you don't have to worry about this, right? Because
I don't know if
I'm not with that kind of.
I'm not sure if Shaman is a deck you ban with this. Like
no,
because Shaman has surprisingly limited option to deal with a Doomsayer, despite they always seem to having them. But
I think the idea as well is like Freeze Mage is a deck that's all about buying X amount of turns you need to win, right? Like because they buy turns, that's all they do to win the game. And then like this one card can actually just buy you a turn. It could just be a Frost Nova. It's like playing the third Frost Nova because if you play it and they've just got 2 minions on the board,
Frost Nova.
It's just like. It can really make a huge impact, especially because there are a lot of control decks that don't normally have like fucking 6 minions on the board to just hit through it and carry on. But even if they do, even if the minimum of 4 damage is used to clear up the 2 tokens, like 4 damage is actually a lot when you're playing Freeze Mage. That can be the difference between a block being procced, and that again buys you another turn. So like I like it. I'll be interested to see how it performs. I'm gutted I'm not casting this group, honestly. It's devastating.
I saw the Mirror Image being used by Ignite in the HCT EU prelims. I cannot remember if he cut Flame Strike, but I think he was playing a bit of a different list. I think he had Cone of Colds. I'm actually gonna check it now because I think I have it on GGNet somewhere.
I'm surprised we're still talking about this and not the fact that he's bringing patrons.
We are going to get there once we get to the. Stop getting my notes. But yeah, so Ignite was playing double Mirror Image in his HCT EU prelim deck. He was playing a modified version of Laughing. He was cutting Pyroblast. And what's the other thing? Ice Barrier. So he cut all of those to play double Mirror Image.
It's an interesting trade-off.
I think so if you look at Crane's lineup overall, He's just expecting a lot of aggressive decks. He's going to ban out anything that's control-y that you can't kill with his freeze mage. Because just again, just jumping the gun. I apologize, Nidra, but like Patron, Dreadscale, and Hunter. This in freeze mage, even his own zoo, like all those decks can go fucking toe to toe with any form of aggro. Right? And that's what he's going to do. He's just going to ban out anything that's too controlly for his freeze mage. So probably if there's like Cthulhu Warriors or anything late game that he thinks his freeze mage can't deal with, he'll just ban it and be like, bring it on aggro decks, bring it on, and then he'll just crush him. Like,
I have to check, but I think most of the lineups, except AKs, have like 3 aggressive or fast mid-range decks and 1 control. Like at best, like AK1 obviously has gone full slow with Renalog and Cthulhu Warrior and Cthulhu Druid and whatever else he's bringing. But yeah, it might be a great strategy from Crayman. So 4th class Paladin, 3 out of 8, 2 N'Zoth Paladins, 1 anything combo coming from George. And here's the question, guys: what happened with N'Zoth Paladin? Right, it's been the opposite trend of Hunter. Like, I remember the episode where we had you, Raven. We were talking like just the first week of the All Gods meta, and we're like, oh, N'Zoth Paladin, this will be the new shit. Right, it's probably one of the strongest deck in the meta. And then it slowly started declining. It was the most representing deck in EU prelims. Then it was like not even in the top 5 of NA, and we saw it. We're seeing it less and less and less. Like Paladin in general is falling off. People are trying, going back to the anything combo. We saw Lovely Chook using it to win the Ferrari, and now we have it George using it here. What's happening with Paladin? Raven, Sumadin?
I want to say that it's like, I don't think it's ever safe to say that Paladin is gone, because too many tournaments have been won of the last month of Paladin to say that it's gone. I want to say it's doing like the other decks that does what it does better, and that is, I want to say, Warrior. Basically, if you want to have an average win rate against Shaman and a better win rate against Zoo, then you go Warrior, and you have a much better matchup against Miracle Rogue, and you actually has a decent shot against Freeze Mage. So it's just a case of the current Warrior decks doing everything that Paladin can do, just a little bit better. However, remember that Paladin vs Warrior is, as far as I know, really favored a lot of the times, and as we also saw during the when the Ferrarios won, Paladin vs Hunter is not even funny. It's just sad to look at, because Hunter is used to putting the opponent at a clock, and then Paladin says, "Okay, I'm gonna add 10 turns to that clock. Good luck."
Yeah.
And that new fancy 8-drop you got, that's almost good enough to trade against Tyrion.
What I love about the anything combo from Jersey is, like, I used to play this deck a lot, and like, unless you draw like the shittiest, in reverse order, you destroy Shaman so much. Like, this was at least my experience. I don't know how it's on like on the highest level of Hearthstone, but yeah, I was not losing to Aggro Shaman. I was not losing to mid-range Shaman. It's because turn 2 I would always have Doomsayer. I force them to deal with it. If not, I just clear with Pyromancer, then I clear again with another Pyromancer, then I clear again with Consecration. If they pressure me, I heal 4 times. Right, because I play 2 Forbidden Healings to lay on hands, because fuck you, I really need this plus 50 life, and I just kill them with double anything, right? Because I expand their resource, expand their threats. I'm not sure if you guys had the same experience, or if this is how the matchup usually goes, but it's like, I was not losing to Shaman a lot, and Shaman is an easy deck to play. Combo Paladin isn't an easy deck to play, so it's definitely not me being holy shit fucking amazing in Hearthstone, right?
Yeah, I mean, that ain't true.
Like, so anything Paladin was actually, well, still is, especially if we look at it back in the day. Like, it was my favorite deck by far. I played a lot of it. And honestly, like, when I was playing it pre-standard, just felt like I just beat anything pun intended.
Yeah, it did quite nicely.
But also, like, even now, like, I kind of like George C's list more than the one I'm playing at the moment, because it's got way more cycle, and that's the style I used to play.
Basically the laughing HS version of...
Yeah, I used to play, like, a full cycle list. It was stupid. I played, like, too much cycle, but I just said, I'll draw my deck, then I'm going to win, and that's just the way the games go. But in terms of Paladin overall, the thing with N'Zoth Paladin, it's, like, it's a strong deck, but what we saw previously was everyone identified it, as you said when we were talking on the podcast, like, Paladin's insane, N'Zoth, like, one of the early ones. It's good until people decide to target it, and then you fuck. Like,
right.
and we saw that
from, field day with it. Fucking Shamans eventually did.
We nearly saw that from Kranich and Starladder, because they were playing the same decks they submitted weeks ago. Like, he's playing N'Zoth Paladin. He lost the first round, so he went into losers of the bracket, because, like, the lineup he was against just destroyed N'Zoth Paladin, and there was nothing he can do, because there's just so many decks that can beat it if you build for it. But again, if no one's particularly thinking about it or building lineups that can have the capability to beat it, then suddenly the deck actually becomes good again. I think it's very just meta-dependent, that deck.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of Hunter, you know, and I'm not seeing that much Miracle Rogue, so, you know, it could happen here.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And, like, almost everything else, the only issue it will have is maybe, like, heavy control warriors, because you can do, like, 32 max on your second anything. So that can be a bit difficult, depending. Obviously on the way the match goes, but overall, like, Freeze Mage, do you give a shit when you've got like umpteen amount of healing? They can win because they just do the OTK thing, which a lot of Freeze Mages
are
actually...
that's also how they beat and soft Paladins.
Yeah,
but if they can't do that, they're going to be losing against all the Paladins. So.
Exactly. So they have their one style, but you look at like Zoo, even Reno, you just don't fucking care. Like, you know, and like, I don't know, like, from just and we can talk about other stuff about George C later, I guess. But from George C's just lineup overall, like, I just want him to win. He's British. He's a cool guy. He coached me the other day, so that was fun. And he just needs to win. He needs to.
I'm right with you on this one because, like, I have made my favorites pretty clear on Twitter, and everybody who knows me, like, knows that I'm pretty big Thais fanboy and AK Wonder fanboy. But if I have to choose somebody else, that would be George, man. Like, from the preliminaries, like, this guy fucks, as they say on Silicon Valley. I don't know, man. Like, I cannot even explain what makes me like him, right? I just do. Like, I'm a fan of him.
No, I can easily. He's like, so, like, I got coaching from him the other day, right? And he's like 15/16. I'm not sure when he turned 16. So he's super young. He's extremely intelligent. And he's actually quite funny and, like, just a cool guy to talk to. For his age, he's actually, like, ahead of his years, obviously. You just have to listen to him speak, like, in his interview when he got through prelims. You just have to listen to him speak for that. And also, like, he plays very clever decks and has very interesting thoughts about how to approach tournaments. Like, EU prelims, he put Leroy in every deck to say, deck lists are public. I'm going to make every single person play around Leroy. Every single person, and then they're going to play like shit because they're playing around 6 damage out of nowhere, and like that is just everyone else was like, oh, you know, you display deck lists to everyone, you play super standard stuff because people just play around, you know, like tech cards. It's like, no, play around the fucking tech card when I don't even have it, because it'll be in your mind that you have to play around Leroy in every single deck. Like, that's ruthless, and he's a really clever guy, and I actually like him a lot, and I think he's going to do very well for himself. No matter how he performs in this, tournament, I think he'll do well for himself going forward.
When I heard that interview, I was like, wow, that is like that next level of thinking right there. And I actually equate him to like Amnesiac level of intelligence.
Who doesn't, Shiv? He's the European Amnesiac.
He honestly is, man. I mean, he is already at such a young age garnered a pretty good spot for himself moving forward.
I mean, I'm sat there getting coached by a kid who's 10 years younger than me, and like he's telling me shit that I wouldn't know, and I'm like, oh no, like this isn't good. What the fuck?
Rethinking your life, like,
yeah, I'm being replaced by.
I know. In the back of your mind, there's a little screechy 12-year-old going, "Get good, scrub."
No, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, George C, please don't start casting. Please don't start casting. You will actually steal my job. Don't.
But
no, I think he's great. I think he's great. Honestly, so good.
George, if you're watching the podcast, you know that we're apparently your small fanboy clique are all of a sudden. So yay, the Innervated rooting for George at the prelims. So Glento did not qualify, so we don't have any priests. So 0 out of 8. Not much to comment except, well, apparently priest is shit.
Just as we said, like Androns have just stopped having any expectations at this point because it's.
I mean, there's not really very many good priest builds. I mean, you could kind of maybe justify like the Dragon to Zoth combination thing there.
Yeah, but again, like when it comes to Kafun priest, it's like it's everything Kafun Warrior does except Kafun Warrior does it better.
Yeah.
And it actually hits you in the face. Well,
I think the problem is as well, like looking at the players who have got through, none of them, as far as I'm aware, are particular priest players. If that makes sense. And also, like, it's hard to take a deck when there are decks that are just bear, right?
Yeah.
You know, I've seen some some of the Zoth builds are actually fucking good, right? Like some of the Zoth builds are actually pretty decent.
Yeah,
and even some, and I've even seen some Cthulhu builds that are decent. But exactly, and that's the thing, right? That there are just decks that do what priest does, but bear, and also priest can get like wrecked. If priest is one of those ones where if you've got a bad matchup, you've got a really fucking bad matchup. Like it's not like, oh well, it's a bit bad. It's like, no, you will lose. Like 9
what
times.
What is he doing with hand luck?
Yes.
How did this happen?
Yeah.
Yes, but you know what? Doesn't it tell a story?
Yeah, it's the story of how shit priest is.
Just don't get me talking about any teams because I will destroy them with my words.
Oh, wait. Anyways, Rogue 3 out of 8 lineups, all of them miracle, obviously. So
big shocker there.
I wanted N'Zoth Rogue. That deck's insane.
Yeah,
it can be.
No,
Yeah.
it dies as opposed to Ensoft Paladin.
And N'Zoth Priest, N'Zoth Rogue. Sorry, oh god, I said Priest. N'Zoth Rogue is actually really good. I think it's just it's only been played in the last few days, and that's not long enough to submit it for a fucking biggest tournament of your life. But the deck's good, honestly.
Yeah.
I've played up against it a bunch of times. I've never had a problem beating it with Hunters, so that's my take on it.
Rank 18 doesn't count, Shiv.
Rank 3, fuck off.
Rank 3, wow. You're like super good at Hearthstone then, right? It's
not really.
you should be on a Hearthstone show. Like a real
one. Oh my god!
Like a real one, not this shit.
And I'll make sure to at least acknowledge my co-author on an article.
Oh, wow.
Anyway.
Wow.
And the thing I'll say, just to shift that past that, with Rogue, I think people probably expected more.
Mm-hmm.
But again, last few majors, everyone builds to destroy Rogue. So then this time, why bring Rogue if you think people are going to build to wreck it? Like, just don't do it, right? And I think
it
that's
does a decent job at wrecking itself at times. So
yeah, exactly. But like the problem is, whenever it's very very similar in my opinion to the way N'Zoth Paladin was seen throughout the tournament meta. I guess like everyone's going to bring N'Zoth. I'll bring lineups that beat it. Everyone brought Rogue. I'm going to bring lineups that destroy Rogue. And then
But then when Rogue leaves and Soft comes back and be like, hey guys.
Yeah,
and,
it's just
and for a moment you've forgotten that. That's the thing too.
Those decks are very like give a very easy representation of how metagame changes, especially tournament meta. But yeah,
I mean it's basically the direct effect of both Western preliminaries, right? Both decks that were #1 in their respective meta are now slipping because people fear they will be counter, so they don't want to play them, right? But anyway, so if you've been doing the math right, you know that the next 3 classes are in all 8 lineups. Starting with Shaman, 5 aggro, 3 mid-range Shamans. But expected to be probably the Autobahn deck, or rather class of the tournament, right? Like
maybe, but I want to say it's the hype deck. Like it's like Druid last season. Like that deck is gonna see a lot of use, even if it actually starts falling off, because there's just so much talk about it, and it's never gonna have a truly bad matchup or be countered completely.
I want to.
So it's I don't know what to say other than it's definitely driven by hype, and it's either gonna take a ban or take a win. Like, that's the expectation, and right now we don't have enough decks that can reliably counter it to be seen as bad. But even if it starts taking hits, it's gonna be like Druid, where I think Druid fell down to what, 40%, 30% win rates, and it still saw a ton of use, and that's before standard. So I don't know. I feel like it's a deck that at that stage, but I'm not seeing anything spectacular result wise.
So I want to echo something that Firebat said while he was casting China versus Europe, and it's kind of on the back of what you said, Submarine, is that like you cannot build a lineup to counter Shaman, because this is the question that comes, right? Like, oh, if Shaman is so strong, why can't you build a deck to, like, especially in Conquest, counter it, and then ban just something else? And Firebat was like, well, you can kind of try to, but then in one game, Shaman will do Shaman things, draw the nuts, and kill you. This was like why people weren't bringing anti-Druid decks during the Druid meta, like, because, you know, whatever you do, one of those games he will have Wild Growth into Innervated on some big shit, and then you will be so far behind in tempo that whatever you do, even your hard counter class will suffer. So, you know, this is why I still, you know, think that Shaman will take all the bans, and it's not just because Firebat is way smarter than me in terms of Hearthstone, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what the Shaman class you're talking about is, but I'm guessing we mean Shaman. Like, the problem is with Shaman is that, like, the cards they play are like it's like Paladin pre-standard, right? Every single card they play on curve is like ridiculous. Best in slot, right?
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to deal with. And the second you can't deal with them,
I don't know. They have a couple of cards that are best in slots. I want to say it like that.
Well,
that are
absurdly. 1, 2, 4. That's all you need is 1, 2, and 4.
Whoa!
Feral
Hang on a
Spirit,
minute.
come on.
No,
okay.
no.
Tuskar Totemic 3, yeah.
Tuskar Totemic is the most broken card in the game, right?
I'll agree with that, hands down, yeah.
It is. So that, you know, they've got 1, 2, 3, maybe not on turns 1, 2, and 3 necessarily, depending on what goes on, but still, they have the access to some insane late game, and then guess what? Later on, they'll do a 7-mana turn, finish their turn, and then, oh, hang on a minute, I've got 0 mana 5/5 Taunt to drop down as well. Like, good job, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. You don't build a fucking deck to beat. You might build a deck that does a bit better, but you don't build a fucking deck to try and beat that, because you just can't.
No.
Right.
But yeah, no surprise at all.
Yeah. Warlock, also 8 out of 8, 4 Zeus, 3 Reno Logs, 1 Cthulhu Reno. So pretty evenly split between aggro and control. And this was expected. Like, if we were looking at the stats from both preliminaries, like, Zoo was kind of always more represented, but not by a huge margin.
No.
You know, it's like, even in NA, which is so much more aggressive region, Reno Log was, you know, right there with like maybe 20 lineups difference, so something which is pretty, not a big gap when you consider it's like 200 players or whatever.
And also it depends on your lineup. Let's bear in mind that as well.
Yeah.
Because Crane, easy example, you don't take fucking Reno Lock to beat aggro decks, right?
True.
Like, you just don't. You take Zoo, because Zoo's one of the best aggressive decks that beat aggro decks. So you do stuff. So again, just to point out, on top of all that you said that is correct, of course. Like, all these numbers are based off what the other decks they brought as well, because you build a lineup, right? You don't build decks in a vacuum.
Nope.
Right. And lastly, we have Warrior, 8 out of 8 lineups. 3 Temple Warriors, 3 Control Warriors, 1 Cthulhu Warrior, and 1 Patrons. Now let's talk about Patrons. Crane is bringing Patrons after admitting in prelims, like, oh guys, it's a shit deck, I'm not gonna bring it, I have to live with myself, not sure where my life is going, now that Patron is dead. Is it Patron or Patron? It's
Patron.
It's Patron. I'm just checking with our linguist here. Raven, right? Raven. You just call Shaman because it rhymes with your name, right? It must be. It must.
Well, no one calls me Raven.
So.
Raven. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, but it sounds so cool, man. Like Darth Raven, like the Sith Lord.
Really?
Yeah.
Darth
Revan.
Oh,
Revan. Yeah.
Revan.
Revan.
Ramen, it doesn't matter. Now you're ramen for me. Like ramen, but worse.
Oh my god.
Can we talk about the warrior class?
Thank you.
Wow. Talk
Because I honestly think this is the class to watch for. Like, the players that can play this class are the players that are going to win, because warriors kind of, you know, as you said, there's no class that really beats shaman. Warriors pretty close, because they do have blood to echo for the truck. It's actually a favorable trade, which is absurd. They have fiery wind axe, which is still ludicrous. They have execute for that 7/7, and at that point on, they just win with tempo. So that's the general plan. And because, you know, shaman decks uses shaman cards once you beat the OP shit, they just tend to beat themselves when you have beaten that. So, and against Warlock, you know, they own Sue. They eat Sue for breakfast. You know, they have whirlwind effects up their ears. So, I think they got everything they need. I think it's going to be the class to watch. Yeah, I think it's going to be banned a lot.
The way I like very simply describe Tempo Warrior is that it's pre-standard druid, right? It's just a good fucking deck. Like that deck can just take anyone, like just straight up, like easy. So you know,
won't beat most paladins, but yeah, it can beat all the meta. Yeah, and you can ban those.
if you really fear them. Yeah. But yeah, what's with the patrons? What's with the patrons? Like, why is it?
I want to say it's because
he's Crane. Is it just?
It might just be Crane thinking that he's just going to ban out any freeze mage he sees or anything that could possibly wipe boards in those matchups. And then all of a sudden, you've got this... I mean, you look at the rest of his lineup and some of the tech choices he has there. It's like he's wanting aggro decks. Like, yes, please feed me. You know? So Patron does kind of fit that whole mindset a little too nicely for my liking.
I think the combination of... So Patron is effectively Tempo Warrior without the back end, but with patrons and more whirlwind effects, right? And more, you know, like whirlwind effects, basically. And the combination of Crane building an anti-aggro lineup and being Crane, I'm okay with this patron pick. Like normally, I was actually the first person or one of those people who were like, just you need to stop, please. It's like, you know, like Tempo Warrior is just bad, blah blah blah. But if you're building a lineup for a specific job, then yes, you know, I'll give him this one. Patron should be fine, and it's Crane. He's pretty fucking good. Like, so fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at how the 8 lineups are in the championship, the 2 decks that basically shut down Patron because they have shitload of AoE is Freeze Mage and Renalock, right? I think there's no lineup I'm checking. So there's.
I mean, Priest could do a good job.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but no Priest. You know, so I mean, with no Priest being relevant here, the Patron pretty much has a really big field day.
Yeah, there's just one lineup where both of those decks are, right? So in all other lineups, you can shut out, you know, the hard counter to Patron pretty easily.
And you've only got to fucking win once with it, right?
So exactly.
If it can win once,
it's like,
free.
So anything else that we want to talk about? Oh, going back to the a bit high in the talk, Loyan is bringing Alakiris finisher in his Shaman.
Ain't seen that in a long time.
Instead of Doomhammer, right?
Instead of Doomhammer, right?
Yep, it's reasonable.
Wow.
So it's basically to dodge the Harrison.
Yeah. Everyone's going to be playing Harrison, so everyone has been playing Harrison, so you know what? You hold on to that. Well, it won't happen now, because obviously people will know the list, but also, like, you have a 5/4 for 5 mana in your deck.
And he's playing his own Harrison, by the way, in mid-range Shaman, which not a lot of players are playing. Yeah,
so this is something that actually, not the same list, of course, but at the prelims, me and Soto were messing around with Shaman decks, and he was like, yeah, I've actually took Doomhammer out and put Harrison in, because every fucker's playing weapon removal, and like they will hold, because on ladder we're talking about, they will of course presume you have Doomhammer. They just sit with fucking Harrison in their hand all game, and then you're there like, keep it there, mate, keep it there. And then again, like Loyans just took it a step further by adding and it's sort of replacement in the form of Alakir for some additional burst and finisher potential. So I like it, and you know what, Laurie knows his shit.
Well, when it comes to Shaman,
yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
it'd be cool.
Yeah. So this was our metagame talk of the HCT Europe. Again, they're happening this weekend. Quick question: who do you guys want to win? Obviously, predicting Hearthstone is shit, so I'm not going to ask you who is going to win, but at least give me one name who you want to win. Raven, I know it's George for you, but Chips.
Yeah, I mean, so
I'm gonna go with George personally.
Okay, Stefan. Oh, Stefan is with Crane, so it doesn't even.
So all I'll say is though, and like this is why I just wish I was there for this one. But like I want George C to win. It'll be fantastic if he does. But you know what? Like there's still Tice, AK Wonder, Crane, Loyan. I'm looking forward to see more out of Cassie, who Froden's talked about a little bit. Like Inner and Turner, they're all pretty cool guys by looks things, and I think there's a high chance that we get a good winner, right? Yeah. You know, I think we've been pretty good so far with who's won Winter, so we're pretty happy with that. And you know what? This is gives us even more of a chance to get a winner. I think everyone will at least be happy with, you know, which is all we can hope for, I guess.
I just want my
winner gave us the perfect.
I just want my Thais AK grand final so I can scream like a little girl, like
That means EU has to completely dominate again. I guess that's reasonable.
Such is life. Such is life.
But I mean, at least in the winter, we had a really good storyline of redemption there. So,
yeah, bringing it to the storyline. It's our second main topic for tonight. I think we'll have to keep it a bit shorter than expected because we're already past 1 hour of episode.
Yeah, that's ever worked.
Never hurts to try. Let's just go and try. So the big news and the big discussion of this week, guys, if you haven't been sleeping or living under a rock, is that Hearthlytics disbanded. And why does it matter? Well, because Hearthlytics, it was one of the most promising North American teams with like pure North American players. Obviously, there are a lot of North American organizations, but most of them employ European players, so they're not strictly North American rosters. But Hearthlytics, managed by Jin, amazing guy, good buddy in the Hearthstone community, I had players like Jab and Muzzy on the roster. So this was announced, I think, on Monday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And you know, as I responded, it was unexpected, but certainly not surprising.
I mean, there were some writing on the wall and behind the snes about this, but it did come as kind of. I
just mean for the general public, and I don't mean because the general public didn't even know who Hearthlytics are. For the most part, it seems. But anyways, you know, the disbandment of a team, especially one that's kind of established, is always sad and always gets people talking. Now, this came within 1 day of the announcement of Archon moving away from esports. As you know, Orange left the organizations, probably expected, you know, Zalay and Amnesiac to move out to other teams because Archon wants to focus on streaming. I'm not sure what their plans are.
That's where the money is.
Yeah. So, you know, this was what lit the fuse. You know, if you want to read about Jin's, like the Hearthlytics disbandment, Jin made a post on Twitter saying how, you know, what led to the demise of Hearthlytics, like how team was kind of mismanaged, like what players expected and what were obliged to do kind of did not fit together, and they couldn't really satisfy sponsorships demands. Right, it's one of the things that brought the team down. So this was step one. Step two was Shevik, you know, a columnist on Splice, on PC Gamer. He wrote an article on Hearthlytics disbandment, saying, you know, well, this is a worrying trend, and the Hearthstone community should take note. He pointed to, you know, casters and journalists failing the storytelling, and this is why we're memeing all week now. Basically failing the storytelling to hype up the Hearthlytics player, and this is why nobody cared about them, and as a result brought down the team altogether. He also mentioned imperfections in the HCT system, which also hurt the set storytelling, how the whole system is a big mishmash of open cups that nobody really can follow because there are so many of them. A day later, Toast the Badger, who should have been here, but I think she's busy today, and me wrote a rebuttal on the article, calling basically all the bullshit there out. Both of these articles kind of got a lot of traction on Reddit, so and they're on the opposite side of the spectrum. So I suggest
one was based in reality, and the other was made up characters.
I mean, I expressed my opinions already, so I don't want to shit on Shevik even more. But like, there's something for both for people of both opinions, right? If you think the HCT system is wrong, you will probably side with Shavik's article. If you think that the things we said, which are a bit cynical and a bit in your face, a bit, well, that's life, deal with it. Go read our article that me and Toast the Badger wrote. But anyway, so these two articles kind of, stir all this shit that everybody has been talking about all week. But all week, it's 3 days just, but you get what I mean. So, let's start here, guys. First question I'm going to ask you, because I know you haven't really expressed opinions on the show or like in an article or something like this, just because you're not a writer, so you're not expected to. But what do you think brought Hearthlytics down? Really, is it too cynical to say that their death is nothing more than failure to meet market's demands, as me and Toast put it, or are there other things in motion there, like
they just wasn't catching attention? Like, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I hadn't heard about them. Like, it's like I've heard the name, of course, but again, it's the kind of name that for me it doesn't even reference a team. Like, anytime you include half in something, it's usually some kind of service for Hearthstone. It's half phone, half cards, half arena. So right there's a bit of conflict in expectations. So, and the fact that their team, whatever, there's tons of no-name teams that I barely hear about. I saw a rise and fall of Mana Light, and
and
that
Mana
was
Grind and
poking that stick at. You know what? We innovated a lot of shit. I don't want to hear anything.
No name Mana Light, no name team. Sick burn.
Oh, you were on this, right?
Wow. Sick burn.
I know.
I mean, they're selling their assets now. They're selling their company now, like their entire company, their all assets. So this ended well. Trig is another example of a team that really the aces, man. But yeah, because I'm asking because Shevik made a point that everybody on Hearthlytics, or like most of the players, were really good, whether on ladder or on open cups. I don't think anybody can dispute the skill of Jab or Muzzy at this point. Like, even though they
Frozen.
Or Frozen, yeah, right. Like, I keep
Frozen's
forgetting
sick.
about Frozen. Frozen made it one win off of NA Championship and got top 16 DreamHack. And got, I think, like top 8 at EGLX. Like, pretty sick results. Like, Frozen is seriously good player. So Shevik is making the point, like, all of these guys are really good at the game, so they should not be left teamless because they actually put up results.
Frozen is currently ranked 13th on Raven ranks. Just saying. That's how good he is, guys.
Wow,
yeah,
really?
that rank system, which stacks right up there with Gosu rankings in terms of validity.
Wow.
Hey, no. Right, we're not going to rant on this because I'm probably not sure.
I know.
We don't have time.
But I actually know a little bit about what happened here at Hearthlytics, because unlike some people, I actually went and did research, and I actually know most of the people involved in it. I mean, there was a lot of things that were going on in Hearthlytics. They never were able to generate enough sponsorship money as needed. If you go and look at their sponsorship page, because their website's still up, you got Twitch on there, which the way that they handle things is not just handing you a big fucking check. I'll tell you that right now. You had, what was it, G2A, which, how many articles about G2A and not paying their sponsorship dues and or being late on sponsorship dues? I mean, that does actually, there's about 12 articles I can point to right now off the top of my head involving G2A alone, and Kingwin's got the same issues as well. And then there's a couple tournament platforms, one of which is Battlefy, and the other one is another one I've never really heard of, which don't really provide too much financial assistance. And then there's two others that when you click on them, literally it's like page 404 not found. I was like, what the hell is this shit? Or a DNS error returned. I was like, okay, something's not right there. So, I mean, they weren't generating the revenue needed. And that's one of the big things. Now, as for player responsibility, if you look at a lot of their lineup, none of them were actually really streamers. They had one professional streamer who was doing G2, or actually Grand Theft Auto 5 stuff. But the rest of them, they were basically what I refer to as like part-time streamers. They wanted to focus more on playing than on streaming. Unfortunately, that's not where the business model is in esports. All right, sponsors, they look at Hearthstone, they look at it in a very negative aspect. The amount of return you're going to get off of what you're going to put in is not sustainable in many ways. And so they want to see more stream numbers. They want their players constantly being exposed, so their brand is being put out there, so people are seeing it, and so more people are buying their shit. That's just how this fucking industry has worked since the dawn of time. Combine this up with after Frozen started winning a lot of shit and getting high placements, there were other teams out there trying to poach the shit out of him and one other player who I can't really talk about right now, but people were after them, all right? People were trying to get them. So it became a little bit harder to meet the demands of the player when you have no financial backings coming in. You've got your players possibly being poached out by other organizations. So it creates a scenario where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You really have no way of moving forward. So they closed shop. They had no other option. And it's sad. And trying to say that this is all the fault of casters and trying to say it's all the fault of media for not promoting them.
Don't steal my rant, Shiv. I'll cover in the caster thing.
You go ahead and cover that shit. I think it's very disingenuous. I think this is a cop-out. I think this is absolute total fucking bullshit. There's been storylines that have been put out there, but trying to force or create a narrative in order to sustain something that's not fucking viable is fucking ludicrous. And Shevek, I don't know you at all. I don't really give two shits about you. Apparently you do like two shits on you, but that's besides the point. I'm sorry. This is a fucking cop-out fucking response, all right? Yes, this is a job. This is a business. This is an industry. There are things you must do. Streaming is one of them. To act as if these players didn't know what they were getting into when it was written in the fucking contract is completely naive and just fucking bullshit. And with that, I'm gonna drink my vodka and let you guys do what you got to do.
No, I'm gonna take and segue into Raven Ramba. I know the Shavik's accusation of storytelling got a lot of people either mildly irritated or offended or right down insulted, right? I was talking to storytellers in the industry, whether it's writers or casters. Like, a lot of people are seriously pissed and took serious offense. And I will tell you why, because I am a storyteller by profession, right? I write articles, I make shows, I make podcasts, I talk about the game, talk about players' teams and whatnot. So when you read this article, it kind of kicks you in the balls, right? It's a colleague. It's coming from a colleague, because I had the argument with Colum last night, and I think with Toast, can't really recall about like how decent writer Shavik actually is, and I do think he's a decent writer. So this came from a colleague who is putting good content most of the time out there. So it's this like slap across the face, like fuck you, you failed at your job, and because of you a team is dead. Right, you take this as it's like
this is fine, because basically I'm just gonna be like, if any team shit talks me, I'll fucking destroy you with my next cast.
There you go.
That's the angle I'm taking. But no, so there's a couple of things, right? The thing that annoyed me about the article specifically was that if you're gonna write something like that like bashes on people or whatever, like, who are you bashing on? Because when me, Sottle, whoever else,
and keyboard jumped them, right?
Yeah,
like I did not expect it.
Yeah, when we're like blatantly like, what's your fucking problem? Like, no, because if someone's got feedback, even if it's really shitty, fine, but fucking say, because this article was so broad. Casters don't tell a story correctly. It's like, who? I actually tweeted Jab specifically because I cast him that day, like, because I was casting Starladder. So Jab, out of interest, do you feel at any time casters have done you an injustice in terms of how they describe you, talk about you, blah blah blah, going into a match? No. His answer was like, you know what? In certain matchups, I'm the underdog down to deck selection because he takes sort of weird decks sometimes, blah, blah, blah. But he said, you know what? If people get the results, fine. And that's what, you know, casters can talk about. If people aren't getting results, fine. They don't deserve any, like, praise in terms of that side. But the article was like, casters are bad or whatever. And I'm like, well, what example? Like, send me a VOD of casters shitting on Hearthlytics or any of the players, because we've only... one. I might be wrong, so like I said, send me a VOD, someone. But, like, I've only ever heard casters talk about Muzzy as a ladder god.
Yep.
Who is picked him as a guy to make it through to the championship.
Sol picked him in prelims, and we said ladder god who is due a major performance at any moment. He's just due one because everyone universally knows is amazing. Same with everyone else, right? I spoke about Jab at Star Ladder, and I was completely honest. I was like, Jab, great player. No results recently. He'll be really looking to make an impact. And he's tweeted that. He said, you know, really going to be focused regardless of Hearthlytics stuff that went on. Super focused, going to make it. That's all I said. Like, and then I shit on him for missing lethal, which I'll shit on anyone for missing lethal because it's just the way the game works.
As you should. You're a caster. Yeah, that's your fucking job.
But, like, it's just... And then I'm like, oh, so what casters have you got a problem with? Oh, and then there's a tweet from Shevik who... seemingly never actually responds to any tweets I tweet out anyway. He just like likes them or whatever, which is fine. But like, the people getting really wound up about it aren't the people that are the problem. Well, there's
this one puzzled me to no end.
Yeah, like so who are you talking? Are you talking about Nimch? Are you talking about Lothar? Are you talking? I mean, where? Fucking also, point it out. Stand by your fucking statement.
Some of the examples I got, not from Shevik, but from other people that I was talking about. Oh, well, like, you know, they were naming casters like Reynard, Amaz, and, like, you know, those along the lines of, like, Rekfall, and, you know, people like that. And it's like, they aren't casters. So, if there's, like, a third-party tournament, and they hire a popular person to cast, and I'm not saying they're bad casters, by the way. Reynard, for example, is a great caster. No, but, amazing. Like, if they're effectively individuals... If they shit on someone, then that's like their individual like thing, and they are not casters, right? And then from that, the response was, "Oh well, recently it's been really good actually, and like all the casters have been doing a great job." What's the problem? It's
Thank you.
No one will tell me what the actual problem is, and that's frustrating because casters, especially all the ones I've worked with, are very quick on feedback. It's like we don't care. Maybe this is the wrong phrasing. Everyone can tell us we did a great job, right? Fantastic. But we want to hear the shit we did wrong or the shit that can be improved. That's all we care about, because you just got to keep getting better, right? But when there's an article written that is so broad that it doesn't actually point out any of the problems specifically, how are people supposed to respond? I was going to write not an answer, but, you know, like just a piece on my thoughts on the situation. I was like, I actually don't even know what the fuck I'm supposed to respond about, because there's nothing actually aimed anywhere. It's just like casters and journalists cannot tell stories good enough. What does that mean? What do you want? And also,
like he didn't have a real article, so he carpet bombed everything.
Well, it's like, other than casters actually lying, I don't know how we can do better, because like it's like, yeah, you know, like Muzzy, best player in the world. He's won nothing, but he's the best player in the world, and he's favored versus, you know, all these people who've won multiple majors or placed one. It's like, yeah, he's the best person in the world, blah blah. Because then we're shitting on someone else and lying, which is also kind of weird. And it's like, my frustration is I just don't know what... It's like presenting a problem, saying, there are problems in Hearthstone, full stop. And it's like, okay, like, what do you want to solve it? How does it get solved? And like, if you're going to write an article that shit talks people to that extent, and that's why everyone got... I actually thought he was a big troll. I actually thought this guy's a fucking genius. He's got everyone on Twitter talking. His website, he'll probably get paid by the clicks, right? He's fucking making some money. Like, this guy's good. Yeah. He's writing articles that piss people off, which is fine. But, like, if you're going to do something like that, call people out. What casters? What they said? When did they say it? Who did they say it about?
Yeah, cite examples of where this wasn't happening.
Casters have shit on Hearthlytics, because I actually just don't know. But I've not listened to every single cast that's ever happened. You know, I don't know.
There isn't one.
I don't think his point was that people were shitting on Hearthlytics, just not talking about Hearthlytics enough.
Okay, right? But we also mentioned, like, so the winter NA prelims, I believe, as I try and pull it out of my mind, we were talking about the big NA teams like Fisher Syndicate, Hearthlytics, all the players that win. We talked about that on the most important stream in Hearthstone. Like, you know, the Play Hearthstone stream with a huge audience. We were talking about the NA teams and how they, you know, here to make an impact and such. And it's like, I don't know when.
But apparently, according to him, it wasn't enough.
But and that's my question. Well, what do you want then? Like, give me an example of what you actually want, and then I can actually talk to you about it. Because until that happens.
Apart from being brought, like the accusations being brought and just putting everybody under one roof, which is never a good thing to do, and it's kind of like a novice mistake to. And I've done it multiple times, by the way, in my career. Like, with just like you want to feel important, so you just like carpet bomb, as Shift likes to put it. Everything is like, oh yeah, you know, nobody's getting out alive, and then you know your editor comes, is like, dude, this is shit.
What the fuck did
like,
you just do? Yeah.
What kind of?
Yeah.
Sorry, Nigel. What kind of annoys me as well is there's things about casting and moments that people never see because it's not on stream. I cannot tell you the amount of times, like Blizzard as an example, have said the guys from Blizzard who are at the event. I'm not just talking about Rob Wing. There are actual other Blizzard people at every single prelim and every single championship there. 100%. Amount of times it's like, do all your research on every single player in prelims, find everything you can possibly can about them, know everything about them that you can find, because it's only to a reasonable extent, of course, and then keep talking about their story, their journey through the tournament, how, you know, who have they beat, how did they beat them, you know, is there any standout decks to do, have they got any certain styles, or what like life story crap have they got, and stuff like that. That is drilled into us every fucking 10 minutes, right? And like, people never see that, so they make the presumption things like that aren't even discussed, and it's like, no, storylines for Blizzard specifically, as a main one, is something they only talk about. That's like focus number one, and like people don't see that because they're obviously not there and it's not on camera, but like it gets drilled into us 1,000 times a day, and like it I take it as personal offense whether Shevek meant me, whether he meant Sol, whether he meant fucking whoever. Like, when you just say casters or whoever aren't doing a good enough job, then that means me. Like, it just does, right? Like, that's how I read that. It just means me. I'm a caster. So, like, apparently it's not good enough. And it was just not pointing out who was causing these issues and what the issues actually were. Like, I just felt like it was too broad.
We are trying to being civil here, and I'm gonna keep the tone this way because I don't think that there's any reason to go hitting. But you know, what irked me is not just the broadness of his accusations. It was like, Jin's statement about Hearthlytics, fallout, had the exact reason quoted in kind of like a long paragraph. Like, he said, "Oh, we thought like players wanted something, one thing, our sponsor wanted another thing. The things couldn't mesh together, so things fell apart." Right? Like, when you read this, it doesn't really prompt you to write an article, because every sane person will go through Jin's post like, oh, yeah, well, that's normal, right? Because
you didn't do what the sponsors wanted.
Right.
Like,
it's a business,
so there's no money.
Yeah, the business couldn't survive because it couldn't, supply what's demanded, right? You read this, and it ends there, right? Like, we've seen so many teams and businesses in esports, and just like in real life, fall because they cannot follow the demand of the industry or of the market or whatever. But
hey, I was part of one. Like,
exactly.
Manalite basically dove in with 2 feet, didn't understand the long-term potential. It was all short-term. And then they were like, oh, well, there's not enough support in the scene at the moment, blah, 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 which is, I get it, but you also didn't plan very well. Like,
no,
I think what they expected versus what realistically was always going to happen were 2 very different things.
And nobody wrote an article after Manalite is banned, or
because we were a no-name team.
Yeah, but
how the no-name?
Yeah, or when Infused, fell through, and so many other, like Trig. Why nobody else talked about Trig?
Yeah,
because everybody knew why Trig was falling apart. The company was under tax investigation from the fucking government. Nobody was like, oh, well, it's a worrying trend because Trig are no longer in esports, so esports is like, no, their business was shitty, right? And I love Jin and I respect him, but his like he couldn't get his business together. So, you know, it failed. Now he has the opportunity to learn and make something better. I hope he does, because he's acknowledged that he has to stay in esports, right? But
I've got the most genius idea ever, right?
What?
If you could go back in time, I would have told Jin to tell Shevik to write this article, but it'd be a joke and not really disband, because every fucker knows who Hearthlytics is now, right?
Yo, God,
like,
yeah.
Like, oh my God, because I've just got a message of thingy saying they've like, because Hearthlytics have tweeted, oh, more people are talking about us now than they ever were before, and I was like, oh my God, if this was the plan all along, this is amazing.
Think about this: Hearthlytics comes back, but changes their name to like Phoenix or some shit like that, rising from the ashes.
Oh my God! Oh my
Think about that shit.
That would be a proper name instead of something that confuses people at first. Like,
no, it would
like
have to
Team
be
Phoenix. That's
this will be
Oh.
the best PR.
Oh my God, Jin, Jin, add me on Skype. We got to discuss this. This will be hilarious.
I've got him on Skype. I'll give you his contact.
But anyways,
just tell him the idea, man. You can have that one for free. I won't even charge. Like,
Dude, it's my idea, so fuck off.
But again, anyway, so as I was saying, like, everybody reads the statement and, you know, will nod, you know, in understanding, like, yep, you know, a business failed, but, you know, I feel like Chevy just felt like, oh, I have to write an article out of it, like some article, so I have to invent problems. Like, I have to invent issues that are not really there. Who am I going to... Oh, you know, casters and journalists. Like, I probably see, like, if Jin was there next to Shavik, you know, seeing his write his article, he would probably, like dude, it's not the casters, it's not journalists. No, dude, trust me, like, this is going to be amazing. Like, journalists and casters, they're killing, you know...
Trust me, this will get a lot of clicks.
So,
Trust me.
But dude, it's... Like, we just followed our business. It's nothing like more complicated. No, dude. Like, trust me. I'm going to make you the best PR move since Archon's video about Fireball. Like, it's going to be the shit. Again, this is what bugged me. Like, you have to write an article, so invent problems. And you know, the only one thing I agree with him is that the HCT needs some restructuring and reorganizing, but once again, like, he starts the topic, and he finds the problem, and then takes a detour into a completely different direction and attacks open cups, and it's something I want to talk about because I had the argument today with one of the hosts of the Wellmet podcast, and I was kind of being a dick to him, probably for no good reason.
Yes, you were.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed because I also had an argument with...
I hope you've apologized.
I did apologize.
You did.
I did apologize. I had an argument with Toes, which kind of left me in a bad mood in the morning. Anyways, so I was kind of being a dick to the guy, and I apologized. Shouldn't have. So, yeah, sorry, buddy. But anyways, the open cups were pointed out as, well, they're not really, there's so many that they're disorganized, they're not standardized, they're hard to follow, and this is where he lost me, because, and I made this point in my TOS article, is that open cups aren't supposed to be followed, they aren't supposed to be covered. Open cups, they're building blocks of the scene, right? You don't go and see a building and, oh, I need to see the foundations, right? And just like look inside and, oh, if I don't see the foundations, I cannot understand this building, like what it's supposed to do, what it's supposed to represent. It's a fucking building. Look at the facade, and the facade is the majors, right? Like, open cups are supposed to prepare you, get you out of the door, like give you the ignition so you can start building your storyline in the tournaments that actually matter. Like, it's the like majors, championships, big preliminaries, things like you know, invitationals if you get some, right? This is where you become a player, not in the open cups. It's not.
And also to a lesser extent, again, just to quickly make a point, at HCT we get given a full breakdown of how players earned all their points. Exactly how they earned, like how many points from this, so on, so on. And again, that is something that, yeah, we don't go into detail because there are like 0 breaks in HCT anyway, so we don't have much time. It's all game. But we do mention, like, oh, this player's earned like almost all his points from open cups. This player's earned them from majors. This player's earned them from 1,000 rank 1 ladder finishes.
But this is the biggest extent to which you should mention open cup on something as important as HCT broadcast or serious media. Like,
exactly.
It's not like, oh, George C, he won against Johnny 93 in Strivewire 75, and this means the shit. No, it doesn't. It's just like one open cup. It's where they fit in the big picture. Like open cups, yeah.
Once Raven ranks kicks in, it will track open cups.
Wow.
Oh god.
Wow.
You're hiring somebody to fill that in because you're gonna be a very busy person.
No, I've got a genius way to do it. Right. I'm basically single-handedly saving the Hearthstone scene. So
while killing it.
Whilst killing it, I am. It's a paradox, right? I've just got it covered. It's fine.
I'm just speechless. I don't know how to continue the show.
No, so like in all seriousness, in terms of open cups, right? Because like, not even joking, they are going to be involved in like the system I'm working on, but only because I feel that if someone has won like 20 fucking open cups in 2 months or whatever time period, doesn't matter. If someone's won like 1 million open cups, then you know what? They're probably pretty good and deserve some form of recognition. But I think it's completely not feasible to like follow 1,000 different open cups. That again, I think this is one of the and again, just because to mention that you were saying it's all civil, I've got no problem with Shevik, right? I've got no issue with that guy. I've got an issue with some of this that he's been a bit broad, but no issue with him personally. He works in a world where logistics isn't a thing. I think that. I'm being serious. He's like, because I remember him commenting about the HCT prelim locations and that there's issues at some of them or a lot of them. Which yes, there is.
We've commented on that.
But the answer is, Blizzard have got the money to just fucking throw money at every location and make it perfect.
No,
that's not how it works. That's not how life works. You can't just say, oh, well, it should happen, so it can. It's like, well, no. And I think it's the same here. Like, you know what? In a magical dream world where everyone could follow every Open Cup, it's all streamed and commentated by professional casters that get paid £1,000 per commentary. All these things. Like, yes, if we live in like a perfect utopia of Hearthstone, of course it would happen. But guess what? Like, the world's not like that. And I hope people can change it, but let's just think about logistics here because it's just not going to work.
There's also a couple other things I think really need to be looked at. When you look at the beginning of Hearthstone, you look at the viewership that these events, like the Dream Hacks and stuff, were getting. They had hundreds of thousands of plus viewers on every single thing. And then as we've progressed and more structure has been added to it, and certain formats have been adopted as this is what you will play or you're not getting HCT points, we've seen those viewership numbers have declined, and there's might be some sort of correlation in that, and that's inevitably going to affect the viability of like certain teams' profitability moving forward. Sponsors are starting to go, well, less people are watching these events, so why am I paying for competitive players? Why should I spend out money for this? I mean, there's been a lot of things that have led to this. And I mean, trying to pinpoint it on, this is the problem and this is the problem is not a simple thing. There's a multitude of issues that are leading to this, okay? Let's be fucking real here. It's not as simple as saying, it's all the casters and journalists' fault, all right? I think that's very naive, and I think that's, not taking a broader look at everything. While he did make a broad statement, I don't think he covered what the actual faults are.
I think in terms of format, something I would like to see, and I believe is possible because it's happening, is the ONOG circuit style. Like that's cool. Like that is actually cool to have like an actual circuit. It's kind of awesome. Like, and I wish it wasn't like North America or is it just North America? Like it is, right? It's not even like Canada, right?
No, it's
like yeah.
Well, I think you can have Canada. Or is it just US?
I thought it wasn't. I might be wrong. Doesn't matter. But like that circuit is awesome, and that's kind of cool. And I would like to see that elsewhere, and I think that would be a great step. I don't know what form that takes, who runs it. Obviously, if any sponsors out there who want to get cracking, great. But like that format's nice, and that's definitely something that people could work towards or maybe want. But in general, like I don't even know where I'd start with improvements to the HCT format in terms of displaying of open cups and maybe being a bit more rigid, because rigidity as well is a problem. Because they want everything to be open. Like, who are Blizzard to like lord over Strivewire, right? And I understand Strivewire is kind of a mess in terms of there's like 1,000 tournaments a day, but there's 1,000 tournaments a day. If you want to play in a tournament, you can, and that's great. Like, that's actually fantastic, and not something that really happens that often. So like, there's really just two sides to it, and it's very difficult to try and work a magical answer. That's the thing.
I don't think you can ever go small or with less open cups just because, and I've made this point multiple times on shows and articles, is that the population, the competing population of Hearthstone is humongous. When you compare it to other traditional esports, they're nowhere near, just because Hearthstone is so easy to pick up and so easy to become at least decent, if not. I don't mean like Firebat or Colento God tier level of player, but getting Legend is easy, and getting Legend makes you believe, well, I can beat, you know, other people, and because Hearthstone is a card game, you can actually because I've beaten pro players on ladder, you know, a couple of times, and I'm in no way as like even a third as good as them, right? It's just like how the game works, and everybody like has the, you know, the illusion. I don't want to say the illusion, even like the actual chance of winning the tournament. Yeah, an opportunity. Right. So you have to make accommodations for this scene, right? And it's all growing all the time. In fact, like in our article, you know, I wrote that, you know, having so many open cups and, you know, spreading it to partners is the best thing Blizzard could have done.
Yeah. And also, what's kind of funny, just to build on your point, you know what, guys? Blizzard want it that way, so fuck you. Because it's Blizzard. Like they want anyone. Look at Tavern Hero. Like in terms of a competitive, like if you want to go raw competitive format, Tavern Hero is kind of silly, right? You get in prelims by winning one local tournament that there could be 3 people at, right? There was actually someone who won because there was the only guy who showed up, right? There's actually someone in prelims who won this Tavern Hero because no fucker else turned up. That is kind of silly, but Blizzard want the opportunity for anyone to get into prelims if they can, right? You know, they still have to do the job everyone else has to do, and regardless of whether you think it's right or wrong, top-end pros want a harder scene or more closed-off scene maybe for them. Fantastic, great. But Blizzard don't, and you know what? Guess who's in charge, right? So deal with it. Like, I think that's my answer to that.
Like, again, like every time, what really bugs me is every time people try to bring a sign of equation between Hearthstone and other esports, and traditional sports, which the second part is ridiculous, as I said on Violet Town, is like whoever tries to do this is a fucking idiot. Because Hearthstone is not even as other esports. Like in our own industry, it works in a separate way. And I was talking to our managing editor, like who is trying to understand Hearthstone, because he proofreads all of my editorials, and he goes over and is like, "Are you serious? This is how it works?" Like, yep. Trust me, this is how it works. Like, but it's not like I come from Smash, and it's like it's completely different. It's not.
Yeah, you compare it to Magic, not.
It's right? not even to Magic, by the way. But it's
I mean a closer comparison, right?
It is the closest.
But he's not a card game guy, so like I'm constantly in this position, like having to explain how Hearthstone within esports work in its own separate way. Like, so it needs different treatment. Like, you cannot say, but in CSGO things work like this, but in CSGO good players don't need to be personalities to win a check. Well, yeah, but that's in CSGO, right? CSGO reaches to 1 million viewers when the major is in, and Hearthstone struggles to break 100K. Right, and that's on the.
I also want to point out something here. Hearthstone is an individual game. All right, it's an individual game, so you're always following the individual person. That's a little bit more difficult for the average viewer to do versus a team-based game. So you get to follow the rise and fall of the teams. There's virtually no team-based effort in Hearthstone whatsoever, contrary to popular belief. We've had it, and it did really well, and people really loved it and still talk fondly about it, but it's not something that's ever been truly embraced, and I think therein lies one of the biggest problems. You know, what's the point of having teams in Hearthstone when there's no team-based
brand
event?
exposure, that's the only thing, right? It's
marketability.
The walking billboards.
Yeah,
that's what
exactly. And this is a point Reynard made on Violet Town, which I absolutely agree with. Like, teams are billboards. That's all there is in Hearthstone. It's not like, like if we don't get together, like Life Coach and Thighs and argue, we're not going to win shit anymore, right? Like, if you don't act as a team. No, of course not. Like, you never heard Super JJ is like, oh, you know what, Loyan and Subtle really helped me prepare for tournaments because, we're bottom complex. He's like, oh, I crush people at, this tournament because Stan Sivka was my practice partner. Like, wait, Stan Sivka's not even complexity.
Yeah.
He's not even, like, your compatriot or anything. He's just, like, random good guy. It's took as a practice partner, like with no correlation, right? So,
yeah, but I mean, think about this as a world. What if ESGN did not fold? All right, and we still had fight nights. What if ATLC had ATLC 2 and 3? What if like any one of these team-based events actually were to take off and still keep going? Would Hearthlytics still be here today?
Probably.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Yeah,
I honestly would say yes.
Especially if they're regionalized.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if there's NA team league, European team league, whatever team league, like yes, because you know what, there aren't that many American teams. You know, like as in pure American team.
And then it makes the viewer interacting with the team. So they're going to learn these players. They're going to become engaged. They're going to develop fandoms for them. There's going to be rivalries that are going to develop. This is something that Hearthstone does not have.
Storylines.
Storyline. You want storylines? Bring in team format into Hearthstone. That's how you do it. Blizzard, ding ding, team format.
Oh, you know what? Team story is actually pretty cool as well. That format's pretty good.
Yeah,
Stephanie, you wanted to comment on something?
No, but like since we're running kind of short on time, I find it also hilarious how there was you compared this entire farce to Archon's like the fact that people was comparing this to Archon's departure. It's like Archon doesn't have any problem with storytelling. There is lots of storytelling about Archon. Archon does not have a problem with storytelling. They have a problem with the stories that are being told. So it's like the complete reverse problems. Yeah.
Well, actually, no. Let's just put. They've got problems with PR, basically.
Yeah.
Like, worst PR. Full stop. Just confirm.
That's
and Reynad described that very well
last night. Holy shit!
Fucking
like
hilarious.
they have the worst.
I love him, man. I love him.
And it's like it's so I saw the Reddit thread about Orange leaving, and people like scraping. I can't wait for Backspace's reaction together with Amass. It's like this is the storyline. This is what. This
Orange
is where
felt
I'm
like
taking
catfish. He was selfish. You know it's gonna come out.
Yeah, but anyways,
no, because every single guy that works in PR will kill them before they are allowed to repeat that. But
let's move on, Nigel.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, to close the show, the team leagues is something that absolutely must be brought back to Hearthstone, and it's a topic that Sin from Team Celestial has made multiple times on Twitter, and every time I read is like, yep, this needs to happen. Like, don't do it as Gamers Origin. Don't bring it like into oblivion where nobody cares about your league.
Nobody even knew it existed. Let's be honest. like there was no fucking promotion of that shit.
Like,
I played in that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, nobody knew it existed.
And again, like I'm sure you guys are aware, but there wasn't an English stream.
Yeah.
For that team league, and there were English-speaking casters that wanted to cast it. Zero funding whatsoever.
Yeah, zero funding.
Not even a tenner. Couldn't even give us a 10 quid. It's like they were like, nope, got to do it for free. We're like, no, you're alright then. Why? Why would anyone do it?
Fuck off. Yeah.
Bitch, I'm out.
But again, like Hearthstone Team Story, like the Chinese Team League, is really one of the probably the most respected tournaments in China.
Yeah, it's cool.
Right? It's not just cool. There's a lot of prestige winning this. Even more so when it was the NEL and it was like all open. Well, not all open, but you will have like 6 invites and 2 teams qualifying. This was amazing, and like the person who succeeds in organizing this and brings it to the West will have huge potential. He reap huge profits if he does it right. Like, just look at fucking ATLC, man. And it's like, I know that a big part of this was because Amass locked down all the streamers. And I'm not saying that like every team story will, like every team cup will have like 100k as ATLC there, but it's a start, right? Like, if you want to talk where we start with this, let's think about this, like giving continuous exposure for brands to build their fucking hashtag storylines. It's not casters' fault. It's like lacking good tournaments, actual tournaments, mattering tournaments that help you build storylines. Because again, my argument with the well-met host was about team leagues, and like I know this is an argument he started with Callum Leslie last night about like, oh, which team leagues matter in Hearthstone, and the Collegiate Championship was brought up. Like, no, it didn't. Right?
No, it didn't.
Because like who won this.
So
right? Nobody fucking remember this.
So the thing about a team league is that if it was going to be done and be successful, that prize pool would have to be fucking insane.
Yeah.
Because you can't, as proven, because I've played in 2 team leagues in the past 2 years, as proven blatantly, if you make a team league for mid-tier teams, then you know what? No fucker's going to watch it.
Yep.
If you make a team league that has Na'Vi, G2, Tempo Storm, whatever, but to get those, prize pool's got to be fucking sick. And you know, until someone does that, team league will never take off.
It's got to be at least 100K, if not more.
Yeah. It just, if you have like a 5-man team league or 4-man, whatever, like maybe even 3 would be fine actually. Three would be fine. Which is doable by almost every single team there is. Like it would have to be like 100K.
Yeah.
Like
I was actually interviewing Vlad Roska from PGL, and you know him, Raven. He's like amazing dude. Because I'm doing research on Hearthstone competitive utopias. Like I just want to write like 2 utopias that are not possible at this point. Kind of like
PGL would be a sick company to run that as well.
Yeah. But anyways, I was talking with him because I wanted to pick up his brain about like viewership and money and investments. Just because like everybody's saying, oh, how do we make Hearthstone sustainable? Well, put more money in. So I was talking with him like about running tournaments, investing in tournaments, and he said that about 40 to 50K, you start seeing diminishing returns of your investment because like in the current state of Hearthstone, at around this amount of price pool, people will already care. Like everybody who you want to make to get invested in your in the shit you're running, will care if you have $40,000, $50,000, and everything beyond that is just you showing off. But with team leagues, you kind of have to do it because there are more people, right? And you have to get all the big names.
I mean,
so it's like
if there was a team league for 60K, that's still like good. If you offered a person 10K each, and then you could tear down to the second team, that would actually still be pretty. I think teams are playing that 10K each, like to win a team league. That's I think 60K would be doable. At least to start, like it'll be doable.
But anyways, let's close the show here because it's. I think we're clocking on the second hour, and it's getting pretty late here as well. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Thank you to my wonderful host, Raven, Sumarin, and the Chiv. Make sure to follow them on social media. Raven as a TPG_Raven_Raven. Anyways, soon probably to be Hearthstone's best caster if he follows on a promise. You can find Stefan at Sumadin and Chiv at LG_the Chiv. I myself am at GGNitro on Twitter. Come and I promise I won't yell at you anytime soon. I'm giving myself like a calm,
we will deal with him if he yells at you.
Yeah. Anyways, I promise I'll be on my good behavior for at least a week. I will not shout at people. I will not pick up fights. Join us next Tuesday. I'm hoping to be right back on normal schedule at 9 p.m. European time, where we'll have our next episode. Make sure to subscribe to the show on Ghost Gamers Hearthstone on YouTube. Find us on iTunes at Ghost Gamers Hearthstone. Follow our new channel because this is where we're going to stream all our Hearthstone activities from now on. GhostTV_HS is the place. Go follow it. We'll appreciate every single heart thingy.
Yes, it no longer says a competitive Hearthstone or a competitive Overwatch.
Competitive Overwatch. It's going to be just the Hearthstone channel for Hearthstone stuff. Speaking of Hearthstone stuff, I'm gonna plug the tournaments we do. If you want to compete, if you want to earn HCT points, we have open tournaments completely every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. European. So come sign up. A lot of big names play in those actually, so you can test your skill against like Rhea, RD, Green Sheep, Blackout. They're regularly.
The SK guys all play.
The SK guys are.
Oh yeah.
They're my favorite dudes. They're like the first to sign up.
Except you'll never hear about AKA missing out on going to a prelim because he was short 1 point.
Yeah. Oh, the Firebat jab.
That's a jab at multiple people. I'm not just saying Firebat.
So yeah, if you want to enter the competitive Hearthstone, that's a good way to do it. We don't 128 slots, so quite a lot of spots for everybody. But anyways, this was the episode for tonight, and goodbye from us and me, Nitro, and we'll see you next week.